You are listening to transmissions from the planet Zog, Milo and Teal, Book 1, Birds of a Feather.
Chapter 7. In the Caves of Essie. Deep within the caves of Essie lay the giant crystals, silica the size of 20 houses, formed into long, straight shafts, almost transparent, glinting of rainbow colours at their bevelled edges. A wooden pathway and series of bridges had been constructed over, under and through this extraordinary collection, so that every head and base of each crystal could be reached by a human being standing up close to sound it. Sounding being the name Zoggians gave to programming the crystals with information to send and project across their world and across space towards other planets. "Goodness, I hadn't expected them to be this huge," whispered Milo as he spoke with uncharacteristic hush in the mighty underground cavern to his sister Teal. "I don't know if I'll ever manage to make an impact with crystals this big. Just imagine the power my voice would have to cause all the molecules in that to start vibrating." "Well," replied the slightly older and possibly wiser Teal, "the good news is they're already vibrating, Milo. All you have to do is redirect them a little, and Tanaya's told me it's not a matter of volume, more of clarity of tone as you utter your message." Teal knew all about tone clarity as one of the many subjects which fascinated her. Foni had told her during their practices in the underground recording chamber at the school how Isabel, the little girl from Earth, had surprised them all by singing to the crystals with such a clear sound that the signal had boosted all the way home to her mother on Earth. That was the beginning of how they managed to send her home. Teal had been practicing, but she wasn't yet convinced she had what she needed to do the same. Her brother, on the other hand, seemed to have a natural talent for producing a pure sound, even though she knew all that she did about allowing talents to develop through the application of focused momentum. She was somewhat envious at the ease by which her smaller brother could produce such winning notes when he sang. "Give it a go," she urged Milo, as if to make up for her thoughts of the last minute. She wanted to encourage him, just as she had enjoyed the encouragement given to her by her cousin Foni. "Go up to that platform and sing something. I bet you can make the crystals hum, just like Tanaya said they can." So Milo climbed up to the small platform ahead of him, braced himself, threw back his head a little as if aiming a small laser beam, and let out such a clean, clear, high-pitched note that even Teal, with all her 9 years of experience being Milo's sister, was surprised at. It seemed that the very atmosphere was sharpening her brother's focus. The moment his voice hit the pointed end of the crystal, a low began to emanate from the 20-metre-long shard in front of them. Teal stretched out her hand to touch the cool surface and immediately felt the singing spread deep into and through her body. She was literally vibrating with the echoed resonance of her brother's note. "Wow," said Teal, quickly removing her hand. "That's spooky. With notes like that, Milo, you'll be messaging villages all over Earth and spreading our ideas about the school." Though in Tanias, who had stayed standing behind them to observe the children, Teal announced, "Milo can be your new songmaker here, at least for this crystal. Will you let us stay here a while, Dad, and make some songs for the Earth children? We want to tell them about the fun we have." "Yeah, and that they don't need to stay put behind those awful desks anymore," added Milo, whose enthusiasm for his life of freedom had been brought more acutely into focus ever since having heard that Earth children were expected to spend most of their day sitting still on a chair behind a table while an adult told them endless things they had to remember. He was shocked, puzzled and alarmed until Teal had told him that Earth adults believed that was the only way for children to know anything or be prepared to live life as an adult, knowing as they did so well that children come ready-made with full access to infinite intelligence, which they could simply use by directing their attention to something pleasing to them. It could be a thing, a thought, a feeling, or an experience which stirred their passion, and naturally the next logical step of knowledge would be revealed to them through circumstances, synchronicities, meetings, intuitions and connections. It was so odd and so awful to think that lovely, live children had to bottle down their energy by squishing themselves into a small space on a daily basis and were neither allowed nor encouraged to attend to their own inner promptings and passions. "You can spend time down here with your chosen crystal," replied Tanias, their father's cousin, whose life passion was communication issues enabled by these crystals. Your father and I should be working at the other end of the cave. We're growing some new high resonance crystals which should help support a better local field for communication in the town of Essie itself. It's funny, he mused. And we're adept at sending and receiving signals from all over Zog, but when it comes to our own messages, we need some improvement. Their things can always benefit from improvement, Tanais, Fredel, the children's father, added. The moment we fix something, we create the next rocket of desire to make it even better, but I've heard nothing but praise for what you've achieved here. No doubt you feel you can always add something, dear cuz. Milo chipped in, carried away by the spirit of appreciation. We want to make things better on Earth, responded Milo. And that is very noble of you, young Milo, said his cousin Tanais. Don't go focusing on the problem, though, or you'll only make things worse. You need to spend some time, perhaps together with Teal, playing with ideas of how you feel children on Earth could be happier. Align yourself with solutions. Sing those into the crystal, and I will help make sure they transmit to Earth. We can point these in the right direction, you know, said Tanais, indicating the exquisitely faceted point of the children's giant crystal. You can, said Milo, amazed. How could you ever move a crystal as large as this? We have our subtle ways, Milo. I'll show you later today when you've finished workshopping. And Tanais walked off with Fredel, eager to view their own experiments. He's so right, you know, Milo, said Teal. We have to stop thinking of how awful it is on Earth and start instead to wonder how it would be if they had more freedom like we do. How about we make a list of everything we love about our lives? That could help us focus a song to transmit. Excellent thinking, Cess, said Milo. I vote we start with tree houses. Being up a tree for half a day is my idea of heaven. I can play with the squirrels and the birds. With the sky, with the air, I can climb. I can breathe. I can even watch that amazing colour pattern you created spreading across the floor to mark time. Milo began to get on a roll. Teal herself was thinking, muttering out loud and twirling about the space. She found that this was the perfect way to concentrate and gradually ease her mind off from one direction into another. When she twirled, she could think of little else but the twirling, and each time she resumed thinking, her previous thought was just a little quieter than the new one. It was the perfect way to shift from negative to positive, carefully engineered distraction. Okay, do you know what I love most of all, Milo? Teal spoke suddenly, stopping in mid-twirl. I like doing what I want when I want to. Take that equation I was working on last week. I wanted to work out how heavy our new treehouse should be to stay solidly in the tree and not blow away in the wind, but at the same time not be so heavy as to crack or damage the branches. I assessed the weight according to its size. I measured the tree branches and calculated the weight they'd carry. I worked out where we needed to fix the treehouse base in order to gain maximum strength, and I understood then how thick the base of the treehouse should be and of which material we should construct that. I did all of this, as you know, in the office of Frana, the village architect, because she was willing to let me come in and use some mathematical tables. I was sitting down, completing the final calculations just 2 hours after I'd had the initial idea to build. Isn't that just normal, though? Said Milo, listening to his sister. That's exactly how anyone does anything. They have an idea, they line up with it, and then they do it. Yes, but that's just the thing, Milo. On Earth, everything is action and waiting. There's no lining up with. Ideas are considered the territory of the chosen few, and then it takes months for anything to be decided upon. I've heard that learning in their schools is based upon what people thought was right 30 or more years ago. You said it too last week, chipped in Milo. Well, it varies, but if it takes that long to bring new information through to the classrooms, how can they be spontaneous? People and resources come to our assistance. We can gather all the information we need. We have access to all the knowledge of all the adults. We can apprentice ourselves to them whenever we want to, and we can share their resources. That's a very different approach. But isn't that normal? Said Milo again, though perplexed by Teal's comments. Yes, it's normal here, but not on Earth. They consider us children a burden upon which they need to impose all of their thinking. They even appear to have forgotten that they can have their own fresh thoughts which could enrich their lives too. Here where we live, everyone has a part in building and shaping our future. Every one of us can submit an idea because we all acknowledge the worthiness of ideas. Your idea might reach all of Zog if it's a perfect solution to a question many have held. There's no age limit, no experience limit, no superiority, no power struggle, just us, being us, woman, man, child. Teal, do you think we could just make a song now and sing it to the crystals? I feel queasy when you tell me more about Earth. It feels strange and different, and I'm not sure I'd like it there. You don't have to, Milo. All we're here to do is give a few inspirations to them in case they want to live a little more happily ever after. You and I don't need to trouble ourselves with their gory details. We can just come up with a sparkle of how we live and package it to them in a high-frequency wavelength which will reach the most receptive. Dad told me it's when people are asleep they can hear the messages. Yes, or when they meditate, like we do when we're inventing, replied Teal. They can hear us then because their thoughts are of the same frequency, the one we're all tapped into. Let's go and tap into these crystals then, said Milo, whose hand was reaching for the pointed end, glancing towards him. We can sit with the crystal frequency for a while, meditate, and then write our song. Perfecto! And they sat down, laid their hands upon the huge crystal, began to breathe deeply and shut their eyes. She sang into her pod. There is always a way you can feel it. Draw near it. Little steps bring you closer. If each thought you choose feels better than the one you held before. There are states which you know you can be it. There's a chance you can know how to go with the flow and enjoy it. As the others about you will have their say, it's important that you remain you, your best way to do what makes you happy, to think outside their box. Do you want to view your world as a rabbit or the fox? Which path would you take? You have your own life to live. Living theirs is a mistake. Feel down from your crown. Feel what makes you shiver. When a new song comes along, do yourselves call. Come hither. Give yourself lots of time to explore what makes you tick. Give yourself precious space to identify all those bits. It's satisfaction to heed your heart's call. If someone's telling you something and it feels a little off, find a new path around it. It's their truth and not yours. Don't take it personally. They're changing constantly in their minds. So they take you along and show you their stuff. They say it will make you strong to stuff you with their grey fluff. But it really isn't good for you unless you're feeling good too. If you had the chance in your life to shine brightly as you could, and you had the ability to rise and abandon all their shoulds, if you were given the opportunity to search the inner heart of you, would you take it and leave their laws behind? You can be or do or have whatever you have wanted. You can live the life you live within your dreams. If you pursue the thoughts of interests which hold you, you can feed them in your mind. Do what pulls you. Take a step toward what feels right. Step towards delicious. Let your inner light shine bright. Others will come where you have gone. You can only lead if you follow your soul. If you want to lift them up too, they will come when they're ready to feel more whole. There is always a way you can feel it. Draw near it. draw near it. Milo and Teal leaned back against their crystal, satisfied. They had their message for the children. The next thing to do was sing it into the giant resonators, which would carry the clear echo to the hearts of the children of Earth. Teal spoke the entire song into her pod, which she could then hold up for Milo to read from in case he forgot any of the parts. The melody arose naturally from the rhythm of the words and the emotional feel of the sentences. As they sang their song, at first gently, tentatively, into the ends of the crystal, gradually they began to inhabit that almost trance-like space to which only music can transport you. Milo sang the main melody, holding the rhythm of the words, while Teal sang harmony to his top line. Together they wove their song in and out of the stone, feeling its echo bounce about the cavernous space into which the giant crystals were wedged. Slowly, their crystal began to hum. Touching it momentarily with her hand, and standing with her eyes closed shut, Teal could hear their melody faintly humming within the molecular lattice, which made up the giant piece of quartz in front of them. Just like the silica slices in your computers or the tiny crystals embedded in your wristwatches, Milo and Teal were present as the crystals sent waves of pulsing electrical energy along its length and out into space, where the crystal emerged above the ground. Those Zoggian children felt the wave of ionic conversation leave their bodies in the form of pulsating sound waves, their song, and enter and travel through the crystal. It danced out its particular binary code of electron addition and subtraction until it burst forth to a freer life in the great space beyond. No thought ever ends, played in Teal's mind as she sang one more time. This song will travel across years of space and arrive where there's a willing receptor. It could be with children, she thought, for they were more likely to have thoughts similar to Milo and Teal's. It could also be a freshly alive adult too, not predisposed to take their cues from the visible world around them, but eager and willing to devote themselves to listening to more from within and beyond. Milo? Yes, Teal, replied Milo. I like this place. As do I, said Milo. I like the way I feel when we're creating a song. Me too, said Milo. I love the way I feel all fresh and new and open and blank, but somehow full when we think. Is that how you feel, Teal? Yes, is it similar for you, Milo? I think it might be. Only I'd add the word excited in there too. It feels exciting to me as much as when we are on a travelling adventure, say to the jungle paths or the sea or somewhere. Oh yes, I understand that. Perhaps I should add that to my description, mused Teal. The thing is that it's lovely warm feeling of nothingness, which I so like. How is it that I can love to feel nothing? And as Teal examined this, she saw her brother look puzzled. I think it's not nothing, he exclaimed. Instead, it's full of everything, just quietly folded up, like little packages of wonder, waiting for us to discover them, spot them, out of the corners of our eyes when we stand still and look with all the openness of our inside eyes. Milo was talking with his hands as they walked up the ramp together to reunite with their father and Tanias. Now that sounds like you've been enjoying yourself, young Master Milo, came the voice of Tanias floating over the top of their crystal. Looking up, Teal saw her father and Tanias walking towards them, eager to take the children home to dinner. 4 hours had passed since they left the two children to their singing, and it was definitely time to eat.